Good evening, everyone. Welcome, and we want to welcome all those that are streaming us live for our meeting tonight. And appreciate these folks doing that and participating in our meeting through technology, if no other way presently. So at this time, I will ask that we all stand for the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, our first order of business tonight is to hold a public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 budget. Mr. Carter, do you want to make any remarks before we?
No, sir. We do have a balanced budget with no tax increase. We have not received any comments prior to this, to the meeting tonight.
Okay. So, under those circumstances, then I will open the public hearing and I will close the public hearing. So we don't take any further action on that until our next meeting, right?
Correct, sir. Well, that'll be next Wednesday night at 7.
All right. At that time, we will adopt the budget and tax rates, get all that accomplished.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, we've got to deal with acceptance of the CARES Act funding for COVID-19. Mr. Carter, you want to?
Yes, sir. We got this last week. Each locality in the state, each county and city in the state got monies. Our money is $2,668,598. That does include the money for the towns. If you'll look on one of the documents I sent you yesterday afternoon, we have a breakdown for each town. It basically works out to just under $87.25 per resident in the county. That's how it works out statewide. We did then use the population estimates 2018, which is the last we have for the towns, and that's the numbers we came up with. Now, one thing staff has discussed, because if you look at this documents we sent you with regards to the CARES Act, the money comes to you all of it, and you all have to accept that entire amount. And actually, by tonight, we'll need to have a roll call vote on that for that acceptance. You are liable for any funds that you take, and you take it all. You're also liable, you have to have receipts, which you do not expend for COVID-19 expenditures by December 31st of this year, December 30th of this year. You must return back by December 30th or within at least 30 days thereafter to the federal government. You're also liable for having receipts and everything else. What staff has recommended, and I sent out to you in a separate email yesterday afternoon, John, myself, and Russell have been working on this. It's basically a guideline of how we want to do this. The towns will still get the money on a reimbursement or approval basis. We just want to make sure that whatever we're getting and whatever anyone buys is something that could be covered. You can't go out and buy a dump truck. Okay? You can buy masks. You can buy audiovisual equipment because you're going to have to live stream that. You can pay for things like that. John's got some other ideas for things for fire, rescue, and police. But you can't go out and buy police cars. Also, you can't use this money to supplant any money that's currently in your budget that was already approved as of March 1st or in your upcoming budgets. So this can be used for different things. The schools are getting their own CARES money for their projects. And I think theirs is also over $1 million for ours. So you've got different funds coming out. We just want to make sure that, because at the end, if you do not agree, you have to agree to this up front. You agree that if you don't expend all the money, then, and you don't pay it back within the 30 days of December 30th, the state can use state intercept monies, which is what you're reimbursed for schools, constitutional officers, grants, anything else, they can suck it off of that. What we're looking at is something similar with the towns. Our only way, though, to intercept money from them is what we give them monthly on sales tax. So we don't expect there would be any problems getting the money back from them, but some of our towns are not but so well off financially, and we're concerned about those monies. So this would allow, they would have to agree to allow us, if they didn't pay us in the 30 days. If they pay us in the 30 days, it's not a problem. If not, we would intercept those sales tax monies until we became even. We also want, that way we'll have receipts, things of that nature. John's keeping up with everything right now, because ultimately, I don't know how long the audit would be before this. No one has any idea. Whether it's 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, we got to keep this stuff. And if you don't have the paper trail, you then owe the money. That's all there is to it as far as we're concerned. So, John, do you have anything you want to add on that?
And also, if you do spend it on a project, and they rule it to be an eligible project, then later on that money has to be funded too.
So we want to try to also be able to get some guidelines. There was some guidance in there. There's a lot of gray area out here. We want to get a little bit black and whiter than where we have this just massive gray, because we are concerned about that. Do I think we can spend $1.9 million? No. But I want to make sure that we spend it responsibly no matter what. We went out and bought these masks from BCE to give out to the public in the courthouses, because so far they're the cheapest ones I can find, and that's the ones actually the governor's been wearing at his conferences. They seem to work well. I've tried them out in the last couple of days. So we were requesting that you would accept the funds and that you would adopt the policy. Russell will have to work on the details of the agreement, but this way it allows us to get the money in June.
So is that to say that the shortfall in the each individual town, such as for meals tax or for
can be used, cannot
lodging
be
tax, it cannot be used to offset the budget?
Says specifically cannot be used for revenue replacement.
Okay. So they're
of any type.
So they balance their budget even though the funds aren't. How about the next wave that's coming in? Will that be available to do those kind of things, you think?
HEROES Act was supposedly going to do that. It died, in the Senate, and I'm not sure that that's going to pass. Originally what they said was you could use some of this for that, was in the original bill. But I don't count on anything unless it's passed. So right now, it cannot be used for anything that's in a budget. You also, if you were planning on purchasing audiovisual equipment, can't supplant it with this. Anything that's in an existing budget is not allowed. So if we were going to buy 10,000 masks, we couldn't do it. So yeah, it has to be something that you had not planned on doing before. You can buy additional masks, but if you were a county that was already buying masks for your fire, rescue, and police, which you had budgeted, you're still got to buy your own. Is that correct, John?
So you can be spent on stuff that's full response of COVID. It can be spent on stuff that's full response on COVID. But so anything, all the equipment that we've been buying for fire, police, and EMS that we had planned on before and it wasn't already in the budget, from March the 1st through December 30th, we can apply that to this.
If we had paid fire and rescue, and because of COVID, we were paying overtime to do certain things, that's a covered expense. Okay. But the loss of sales tax revenues is not a covered expense at this time.
Okay, well, I imagine each town is aware of this money and how much coming to each town.
We have not sent anything out to them yet. We would do that after, because I wanted to speak to you all also about this agreement and make sure y'all were comfortable with it, because we're not going to be able to, this is not going to be where we're going to write them a check for these amounts. They're going to have to spend it on allowable uses, because ultimately, if you just start giving out this money, then you have very little control over it, but you're ultimately responsible. And you could have to pay it all back to the Board of Supervisors, right, in Mecklenburg County. And so therefore, that's why we feel like we need to come up with some guidelines. One of the things that John and I talked about also is for you all to set up a committee. Because basically, this is going to be for reimbursables based on this. We think a good committee would be someone from fire, someone from rescue, someone from police departments, John and Mr. Hargrove, because he's the emergency services coordinator. And when people get ideas, they bounce it off this committee. We just don't start going nilly-willy. We're going to buy this, we're going to buy this, we're going to buy that. We feel like this would be a better way to do it long-term, because this has got to last you, it's a lot of money, but it's going to last you 7 months, and backwards 2 additional months. So we want to make sure that we're spending right, because the other side is I don't feel like we should just try to waste taxpayers' dollars just because it's there.
Is this something you feel that is Russell coming up with some type of agreement for the towns where you'll say you submit what you want to purchase to us, and it's like an improvement thing, approved so we can reimburse you for it? Well, I know you don't want to get out there and.
We don't want to be holding saying, no, we're going to do this, but if you read the agreement I sent you yesterday afternoon, that proposal, we'll have to work out the exact details of the agreement. This was kind of basically bullet points as to what we felt like we needed to cover and how we needed to operate, just because you're physically responsible in this case. Unlike most grants, you're the ones physically responsible, they're not. So therefore, that's how they set it up. They didn't want to deal with towns or anything else. Cities, counties, that's it in the state of Virginia.
How about if you needed to hire additional accounting staff or something to, it sounds like this is going to be a lot more work for our people.
Anything that you can tie back to it, additional cleaning staff, anything that you could tie back strictly and specifically for this, yes. But, for example, we have some part-time money in John's budget already, okay? We've got someone helping him, part-time being paid. We can't supplant that. We got to use our money first, and then if it goes over that, then we can use this. But you can't say, because John and I discussed it, it wasn't that much, but they're helping him a couple of days a week with different things. So you can't say, because it's there, it was part-time to help him. We didn't have anybody, but we had it in the budget. So I'd rather, we're not going to try to get into gray waters there. It's pretty simple. We already had it in the budget. And if we get audited and they said, let me see your budget, what's this part-time personnel for? We used our money and not theirs.
All right, you may have answered a lot of my questions here, but all right, so the county has, at this point, incurred some expenses related to COVID.
Yes, sir.
Okay, as I understand it, Sanders has to keep like separate accounting records of that. It has to show up in the accounting records.
Right now, they're being paid for out of departments. I'm guessing what we're going to end up doing at the end of the fiscal year is one of the things y'all will be doing next week is the Interfund transfers. We'll be doing actually journal entries. I'm guessing back if they go over. If they're not over, we won't really worry about it. We'll do the interfunds. We haven't expended so much money that I expect that we'll need to reimburse that back. We'll just be able to, instead of sending back 1.9 million, we might send back 1.8 or 1.7 or whatever that is. Right now, the monies that we're spending have not been huge amounts because there have been some legal fees, PPE equipment, things like that. Stuff we've done at the different offices, but nothing that's huge, and we've been able to absorb those in our existing budgets line items and just say, okay, we did it for this, so therefore we weren't going to. We just put it in that line item to pay for it currently.
So that second, do we have any COVID expenses in this budget that we're dealing with right now?
No.
Okay. So in other words, we don't have anything in there that we need to pull out of this current budget.
No, sir. Nothing I'm aware of. So therefore, that's in the budget that no, so we don't have any, but down the road, depending upon expenditures, especially for fire rescue and police, some of the things that John's been talking about, we might have to do supplementals to that line item because we do not have the funds in there because we had not planned on purchasing any of the masks, filters for firefighters in their face equipment, so things like that.
So essentially then we're going to have a contract between us and the town.
Yes, sir.
Pretty much
That's what we're looking for, yes, sir. And if they,
it's going to be on a reimbursement basis, not a carte blanche check.
yes, sir. And whether it's reimbursement or you're ready to order it, here's the bills, I'm gonna order it, I'll need a check in, 2 weeks, we can go ahead and cut it for you, so it'll be there. But we're gonna know what's being spent before we cut you a check, because of the fact that I feel like if we don't, then you're not being good stewards because the county's ultimately responsible. So you all could have to come up and go, well, we spent 40,000 improperly. We didn't do this correctly. So that's why we're trying to set up these guidelines to be beforehand. Just like I'd like this committee, so that it's not John or myself or somebody, it's a committee of people who are looking this over. And if we have questions, we can get a determination, hopefully from the state, with regards to whether this is an allowed use or not. And then you've got a group of people, not one person going, yeah, I think this might be covered. You'll have a group that therefore you can work from that.
All right, my last question. In the unlikely event that a town were to refuse the money or say they don't want to participate, what would you do, just reallocate that out to the other towns?
It would just, I guess, go back to us, because it's based on the 87-25. If someone does, I don't know that anyone's going to be able to expend all of the money in this program based on us being a rural community and the services we provide. Very difficult. For towns, Boynton's going to get 60. They're going to get 35,000. So, what are they going to be spending that for? Some PPE, probably some other things, but it's going to be difficult to spend that kind of fund. South Hill's got 380,000. But the volunteers that doesn't qualify those payments, so they don't get paid. So you've got things that you would have to have structurally to try to limit public access, for example, in their office buildings. All of them will be able to put up barriers so that you can, would be able to put up sneeze barriers, et cetera, at theirs, and those are covered expenses.
How about something as simple as lawsuits? You keep on hearing about all these lawsuits that are going to be popping up everywhere. If we, a town, for instance, someone employee got it and thought that they weren't protecting them in some form or fashion. I mean, it's just what out there.
That's a workman's comp issue. I can't, or medical issue. We don't. That can't. It's not. I don't believe it's going to be allowed for those kind of things.
I just hear about all that going on in the news about there'll be a lot of lawsuits.
Well, the other thing, I would see a lot of this money going to John to the fire and the rescue and all. But like if John sees some over here that all the fire and rescue can use, is that coming out of the county, or would that be coming out of each town? Like if the board, he sees some that we could use Borden, would that come out of Borden?
Right now, what we're looking at is that it would probably come out of y'all's, the county side, because the fire departments, you all probably give more to each one of the fire departments than any of the towns. Would you say that, John?
Yeah, and even like in the case of, from my knowledge of South Hill Fire Department, 50% of the calls or more, they run from each county.
Right.
So all the fire departments, even if they're in a town, they're covering the county as well. So they still need the same protection, whether they're in town or whether they're out.
Right, because I didn't want, some of them like Borden don't give a 35,000, and I don't want to scrap them, taking all of it out of them.
We're looking at all of that being paid for by the county.
Right.
Under our county allocation. If we somehow spend up all ours at the end and we're looking at the towns and saying, what do you have? What do you have? We'll look at it then, we'll know. But we're looking at any of those kind of things being, rescue squads the same way. All of those things being under that. We have the sheriff's office, the towns have police departments. So that would probably come under them, depending upon what it is. Though. I can't really say if it was something that everyone could use. It might be something we would purchase for shared stuff. I'm not sure.
Right.
That's why I think we need to set up a committee, kind of try to, and if other people come forward with other things that we feel like the committee would be able to look at it, but trying to get a group that could probably be as unbiased as possible and do as best as we can with the funds.
How about the rural fire departments, such as like Buckhorn, Lake Gas, and non-towns?
They'll be under us just like everybody
They're
else.
not left out anything as far as this funding towards this at all. Okay.
How about the water line fire departments that they are using on the side of the county, such as towns?
I'm guessing they'll be getting their money out of their county. Because each county in the state, every state got money. all 50 states got monies, and I'm guessing North Carolina's doing something similar. I can't speak to North Carolina laws. So,
Wayne, why don't we have staff draw up recommendations to this committee and bring them to us at our
okay,
June board meeting?
no problem. But we would need a appropriation vote tonight to accept the money, and then we would like for you to approve the concept of this draft agreement, the bullets from that, so that we'll be able to present something back to the towns.
Okay, so any other questions? All right, if not, then we need a motion to accept the CARES Act funding in the amount of $2,668,598.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And we have a motion, we'll take a roll call vote. Judy?
Mr. Franklin,
Yes.
Mrs. Lundy,
Yes.
Mr. Tanner,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Yes.
Mr. Hargrove,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Spain,
Yes.
Mr. Ball.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So that motion carries. Now we need a motion to adopt the, we'll call it plan of action, I guess. We'll call it, adopt the plan of action as to how we, will, structure the spending and allocation of these monies. We'll need that motion.
Andy Hargrove, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We don't need a roll call on that, do we?
No.
Okay, all, any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, anything else to cover the CARES Act, Mr. Gordon?
No, sir, not at this time.
All right, next we've got, we need a meeting date, to review the no-wait buoy application, Audrey Creek. Mr. Wilkinson has kindly agreed to chair that committee.
Appreciate that. Yes.
Fine.
So, Joe, you got any dates?
Don't look at me.
I do not, Wayne and I briefly talked yesterday about, I'm fairly open, to whatever we need to do about that, but we should go ahead and get this set up. Wayne?
Yes, sir. On the 8th of June is your next board meeting. That way y'all could have a committee meeting beforehand, then the board could make their presentation to here. So we'd like to get it done at least the week before or next week, whichever one is good for you all.
Is that a morning meeting?
That's a night meeting, sir.
Night meeting. So everybody comfortable with the committee, comfortable with that? Okay.
You want to just set a date, sir? I'll get with you and you set a date and then we'll see who all can make it?
That'd be best.
Okay.
All right.
Do that next week, you like? And at the same time.
Y'all got we got the 6, you got a 6 and a 7. Well, I'm wondering, do any of y'all want to go out and visit the site? I did speak to a gentleman who's made the application, and he is willing to take anybody. He took Mr. Tanner a couple weeks ago. He'd be glad to take anybody, but said he would to any time out there.
He said he'd be glad to take anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, all the way up to the like back and see.
We'll deal with it.
So if anybody wants to, just contact me. I'll get you set up with him. We're going that. We can do it if you wanted to. Prior to our meeting next week, which would be, we have a 6 o'clock. You and Mr. Wilkinson do, and myself. So it'd have to be before that or after the board meeting, which the board meeting's not going to take long. We can set it for 7:30.
That's fine.
That's up, whatever you want.
Okay, we'll just do 7:30 then.
Okay.
Okay, any other matters that needs to come before the board tonight?
I hate to bring it up, but, Wayne, do we need to do a secondary road committee meeting?
Jenny
anytime soon?
was trying to get in touch with Tommy. We actually discussed this yesterday. I'm not sure how we're going to have to do this. I will tell you, she was going to contact him. We're having an issue on Old Cox because we want to have a public meeting because there's so many property owners on that. VDOT is not allowing virtual meetings yet. They're requiring public hearings where people can come in. No one that I know of is allowing public hearings where anyone can come in. Therefore, we have a catch-22.
Okay.
And I'm not sure now based upon what was in the paper earlier, or in the last week, VDOT's funding is being cut. It was early this week, because of the fact that titling tax is down, the motor vehicle tax is down, and fuel tax is down. So I'm guessing they're probably going to try to rework some numbers. I don't know. I have not heard from Tommy at all. So I will contact him tomorrow to find out if we need something in June, at least a work session.
So Tommy, right now, as far as we know, he don't have numbers.
As far as I know, I mean, they had numbers,
Yeah.
and then everything went south, sir. And based on what Secretary of Transportation had in the paper this week, I think it was Bundy's paper, taxes are way down on their numbers. So I'm sure we're going to have to wait till they come up with some new ones, but not really sure. Plus, there's the issue of the public hearings. Because our engineers on that project have said, when are y'all going to come up with guidance? And the guy that we're dealing with in Richmond says, currently, it has to be a public hearing, public comment period in person. VDOT has not accepted anything yet.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? If not, we will stand adjourned until next Wednesday, June the 27th, 7 p.m. All right.